Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. 9 news reports that decorated former Australian soldier Ben Roberts-Smith has been arrested at Sydney Airport on suspicion of 5 war crime murder charges. This significant development concludes a complex 5-year investigation by the Australian Federal Police, AFP, and the Office of the Special Investigator, OSC, into the deaths of 4 unarmed Afghan men during his deployments between 2006 and 2012. Roberts-Smith, a Victoria Cross recipient, is alleged to have intentionally caused or aided in the killing of individuals in Kakarak in 2009 and Darwan and Sadat Kha in 2012. His arrest follows a lengthy defamation trial against 9 newspapers, which published war crime allegations against him. In 2023, his defamation claims were dismissed, with the court finding most allegations substantially true, and his final appeal was rejected in 2025. If found guilty, Roberts-Smith could face life imprisonment, marking potentially Australia's largest war crime prosecution. Japan's parliament, the Diet, is set to enact a record 122.31 trillion yen. Question: Had make 72 parted jo kualau k had though. This marks the first time in 11 years that the annual spending plan has failed to be passed before the April thugo, the longest start of the fiscal year. The delay was primarily caused by Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's snap election call in January, which postponed budget deliberations. Although the ruling Liberal Democratic Party holds a majority in the lower house, it is a minority in the upper house, where opposition lawmakers slowed the process. To cover immediate government operations, an 8.56 trillion yen stopgap budget was enacted on March 30. The main budget includes a record 9.04 trillion yen for defense and is the second consecutive year of record-high spending, driven by rising welfare costs for an aging population. Despite revenue growth, Japan will issue 29.58 trillion yen in new bonds, underscoring its significant debt reliance, the worst among G7 economies. Opposition parties are already urging the government to consider a supplementary budget to address rising energy costs exacerbated by the Iran war. The Asahi Shimbun reports that Japan's government is moving to fully lift its long-standing ban on exporting lethal weapons. However, under the proposed changes to the implementation guidelines for the 3 principles on transfer of defense equipment and technology, the Diet will only be informed of arms exports after they have occurred, rather than being granted the right of prior approval. This plan, presented to the ruling Liberal Democratic Party's Research Commission on Security, means that each individual defense equipment export decided by the National Security Council will be reported post facto. This approach has drawn criticism from opposition parties and national security experts like Akihiro Sato, who argue that merely providing after-the-fact notifications is insufficient for meaningful Diet involvement. They advocate for mechanisms like prior Diet approval, similar to U.S. congressional oversight, or the establishment of a dedicated committee for scrutiny. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi has opposed prior Diet approval, asserting that defense equipment authorization falls within executive power. The revision will abolish restrictions on export purposes, previously limited to 5 categories, and allow exports to third countries for jointly developed equipment with destinations limited to nations with transfer agreements with Japan. These revisions do not require legal amendments and will be decided by the National Security Council as early as late April, alongside a cabinet decision to revise the 3 principles to emphasize expanded defense cooperation and strengthening the defense industry. Japanese household spending recorded a 1.8% year-on-year decline in price-adjusted real terms in February, according to data released by the Internal Affairs Ministry on Tuesday. The decrease was primarily attributed to households cutting back on food purchases amid rising prices. For households with 2 or more members, average consumption spending stood at 289,391 yen during the month. Delving into specific categories, spending on food decreased by 0.5%, largely driven by lower purchases of items like salad dressing and seafood. Expenditures for transportation and telecommunications also saw a notable drop of 5.9% as consumers bought fewer automobiles and opted for more affordable mobile phone plans. Education spending experienced the sharpest decline, falling 28.2%, possibly because more private universities conducted entrance exams in late 2025, resulting in earlier payments of exam and entrance fees. This report comes from JJ Press. According to Lienta Zobao, the United Nations Security Council is scheduled to vote on Tuesday on a revised resolution concerning Iran's threats to the Strait of Hormuz. Diplomatic sources reveal the draft has been softened following opposition from veto-wielding permanent members, leading to multiple postponements of the vote. Originally planned for last week, the crisis stems from Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz since the U.S.-Iran conflict erupted on February 28, which has caused significant global economic disruption. While the initial proposal, backed by Bahrain and other Gulf oil exporters, sought explicit UN authorization for states to use force to lift the blockade, the latest text refrains from doing so. Instead, it strongly encourages states to coordinate proportionate defensive efforts and provide escorts for commercial vessels to ensure safe navigation. The resolution also calls for concerted action to deter any attempt to close, obstruct, or otherwise interfere with international navigation. The vote is set for 11 a.m. Tuesday, 11 p.m. Singapore time, preceding President Trump's deadline for Iran to reach an agreement by 9 hours. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.